host, The Stephen A. Smith Show, starts right now.
What's up? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. On this particular day, we'll be on ESPN News from now until 1:30, from 1:30 to 2 p.m. East Coast time. Of course, obviously that's 10:30 to 11 a.m. Pacific. We will be on ESPN2, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Of course, again, you can also catch us on Sirius XM Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by the one and only Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Want to make sure you all knew that. Got a lot of stuff to get into today. Antonio Brown for the Oakland Raiders making a nuisance and an embarrassment of himself. I'll be talking about that as the show progresses. I think he did show up to the team this morning. He's going to be there practicing with them, so we'll talk about that. We'll get into some stuff about Jerry Jones. Of course, Eric Reid, safety for the Carolina Panthers, best friends with Colin Kaepernick, partner in arms as they take a knee, bringing attention to racial oppression and equality, and, of course, brutality on the part of police officers. And obviously, Eric Reid made some noise by speaking out against Jay-Z last week, who agreed to partner up with the NFL to address social issues in these United States of America. Eric Reid had a problem with that agreement. He spoke out. Obviously, I spoke out in support of Jay-Z, at least to some degree, and that provoked and prompted Eric Reid to speak out against moi, yours truly. He had a few choice words to say about me, and if you know anything about me, I'm going to respond. So stay tuned for that. But the first order of business that I really felt the need to get into with these New York Giants. They opened the season against the Dallas Cowboys, as you all know. The likelihood of the Dallas Cowboys having Ezekiel Elliott available to them is a 50-50 proposition. You listen to Jerry Jones. He's talking like Tony Pollard is damn near the second coming of Ezekiel Elliott. This dude was a third or fourth round pick out of Memphis. Averaged better than 7 yards a carry, but still never ran for more than 552 yards rather, in a season in his career in the 3 years at Memphis. So apparently this guy is going to be the second coming. They're not going to miss Ezekiel Elliott nearly as much as they thought they would miss him because this guy, Tony Pollard, is going to be there. If you believe Jerry Jones, obviously it's a negotiating ploy as far as I can tell, but that's not why I wanted to bring up the Giants, who are playing the Cowboys on opening night. I want to bring up the New York Giants because Daniel Jones, out of Duke, the man that was drafted instead of Dwayne Haskins, out of Ohio State, much to the chagrin of my partner, Max Kellerman, along with various other Giants fans out there. Well, Daniel Jones has been balling. 5 for 5 in his first preseason game against the New York Jets. Friday against the Chicago Bears, 11 of 14, 161 yards, 1 touchdown. All right, was sacked once, did fumble the ball twice, not good. But outside of that, he's been throwing the football exceptionally well. And because of it, Pat Shermer, the head coach for the New York Giants, has been interrogated because of it. Asked as to whether or not this guy is going to start or whether or not he's making some kind of noise or whatever Pat Shermer's position is on Daniel Jones being the opening day starter for the New York Giants. Listen to what Pat Shermer, head coach for the New York Giants, had to say about all of that in regards to Daniel Jones.
Well, John owns the team, right? And we're on the same page. There's really not much more to say. And I think I've been saying that all along. I just get a sense once in a while that when I answer those questions, nobody believes me. Well, you heard it from the owner. John owns the team, right? And we're on the same page. There's really not much more to say. And I think I've been saying that all along. I just get a sense once in a while that when I answer those questions, nobody believes me. Well, you heard it from the owner.
Fair enough. He's got a boss. And that boss cuts his check. He cashes it. And he has somebody else, a higher power to answer to. And obviously, Tish and John Mara have incredible affection for Eli Manning, who hasn't missed a start in a decade plus. And the reality is that Eli Manning, 38 years of age, is going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Giants for all intent and purposes. But the way Daniel Jones has looked, which is quite impressive, he's doing enough right now, ladies and gentlemen, for New York Giants fans everywhere to sit there with a raised eyebrow and to say to themselves, excuse me, how long you going to sit this guy? Because we've seen all we've needed to see from Eli Manning. Now, Eli Manning is 38 years of age, but Eli Manning, assuming your offensive line is better, particularly now that you acquired Zeitler from Cleveland in the trade for Odell Beckham Jr. You still got Saquon Barkley there. Sterling Shepard swears he'll be ready to go opening day, September 8th, okay? So you got all of this going on with the New York Giants, all right? And when you look at it from that perspective, chances are you're going to put Eli back there. But what kind of latitude is Eli going to have? Is he going to have the same level of latitude as he's had pretty much throughout his career? If Pat Shermer tried to make a move and the Giants deemed it somewhat premature, is he going to be the second coming of Ben McAdoo, meaning he's going to be on his way out the door because he was not the right guy for the job? What's going to happen? Because John Mara wants Eli Manning to have a great year, wants Eli Manning to be his starting quarterback because they got so much love and affection for him. It's really interesting, and it's worth keeping our eyes on because Daniel Jones obviously is proving that he could play. And if, by the way, if he's we're going to be, because I'm in the business of fairness as well. I'm in the business of fairness. We have crucified Dave Gettleman. If Dave Gettleman gets this right, if Dave Gettleman comes along and proves that, you know what, he knew what the hell he was doing, because preseason doesn't do it for me. I don't give a damn. It's almost unfair because I don't give a damn that you look good in preseason, but you damn sure better not look bad. If you look bad in preseason, I'm not going to have any faith in you come the regular season. That much is true. It may not be fair, but that much is true. But I'm telling you this. If Daniel Jones proves to be better than Dwayne Haskins, if he proves to be the appropriate and right dude to take over and to start and ignite a new era beyond Eli Manning, if he proves that he's a worthy starter on the NFL level, we all must stand down when it comes to Dave Gettleman. I mean, we literally have to shut the hell up. Literally. If Dave Gettleman gets this right, we don't get to dog him. A matter of fact, we got to give him praise. I'll damn near say we got to offer him an apology. Dave Gettleman took a lot of heat. For drafting this kid, Daniel Jones, because while they might wanted to start Eli Manning and they might wanted to prolong the departure of Eli Manning, I'm talking about Giants ownership here, if Dave Gettleman pick the right man to succeed Eli Manning, we can't say a damn thing. We can't say anything. He's not to be questioned after that. If he pulls this off, he's not to be questioned. He will have earned our trust. Now, some of you may not agree with that, but that's just hating. The fact is that with the heat he's taken, you got to give credit where credit is due. If Daniel Jones looks like this during the regular season, if he gets in there and he gets his shot and he looks like this, completing 11 of 14 passes, ladies and gentlemen, Ain't much we're going to be able to say to Dave Gettleman. It's just the truth. It really is. 888-SAY-ESPN, that is always the number to call up. That's 888-729-3776. Second item I wanted to get to is Antonio Brown. Now, for those of you who have not been following him, and I can't imagine anybody in the world of sports doesn't know what the hell has been going on with this headache of a man that has been Antonio Brown, because there's no other way to slice it. I like him personally. I've talked to him on several occasions in the past. I know he's an all-world receiver, etc. Excuse me. But his level of petulance, particularly since he has been an Oakland Raider, is very, very alarming to me. And, you know, he came back from France, had bad feet. He made sure we all saw how bad his feet were because he posted it on Instagram. And this foot problem that has been ailing him so disastrously, I might add, that's kept him out of some practices. Tried to go through something called cryotherapy, and it really, really messed up his feet because he didn't walk in there with shoes on. He just walked in there with socks on, and it exposed his feet to an alarming level of fungus or whatever the hell you want to call it, where there's an extra layer of bacteria on the bottom of his foot. It just looks nasty. It just does, okay? We believe you. There ain't nobody holding him accountable for that. Mistakes happen. But he has been fixated on this helmet issue. He wants to wear the same helmet he's worn throughout his entire career. Same helmet, kind of caliber of helmet he wore when he was in college. The NFL has restrictions on these things these days, and there are over 35 different options to choose from, helmet-wise, that are NFL safety approved. Even though Tom Brady doesn't like it, even though Aaron Rodgers doesn't like it, the fact of the matter is every single player in the National Football League, spanning over 2,000 NFL players, every single one of them have agreed to try and deal with the situation and the circumstances. Every single one of them, with the exception of Antonio Brown. Every single one of them. And so what you have is a situation, when you talk about an opening day roster, a 53-man roster, there's 1,696 players scheduled to be on those rosters. As of right now in the NFL, when you talk about 89 individuals per team, you know, a plethora of guys trying to make the team, obviously. It's only a 53-man roster for opening day, but 89, Mike Mayock, GM for the Oakland Raiders, said he was carrying 89. Well, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? You have a situation where right now, when you look at it, I'm just bringing out my calculator here, 89, okay? 89 times 32 teams is 2,848 players. Antonio Brown's the only one that's making this kind of ruckus over this helmet issue. I'm tired of talking about it. My colleague Ryan Clark has been tired of talking about it. Anybody in the world of sports that I know that's engaged in our business, whether it be radio, television, newspaper, whatever, we're all tired of it. And apparently so is Raiders GM Mike Mayock, who was an NFL analyst for the NFL Network before John Gruden scooped him up and asked him to be the general manager for the Oakland Raiders. This is Mike Mayock talking to reporters over the weekend about Antonio Brown's need to be all in or all out. Listen to this.
You all know that AB is not here today. So here's the bottom line. He's upset about the helmet issue. We have supported that. We appreciate that. At this point, we've pretty much exhausted all avenues of relief. So from our perspective, it's time for him to be all in or all out.
Mayock continued talking about hopes that Antonio Brown wants to be with the team for week one. Listen in.
We're hoping he's back soon. We got 89 guys busting their tails. We are really excited about where this franchise is going, and we hope AB is going to be a big part of it starting week one against Denver.
There you have it. He seems a bit fed up. And damn it, he should be. Now, obviously, you don't want to cut arguably the best receiver in football. And certainly not after giving up a third and a fifth round pick. But I'm sick and tired of Antonio Brown. I'm not going to lie to you. I am a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I wanted desperately for the Pittsburgh Steelers to keep him. I understood where Mike Tomlin was coming from, where he said we want volunteers, not hostages. As coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, we all saw that Antonio Brown was coming across like a quote-unquote hostage because he wanted more money. His guaranteed dollars had expired, and what he was looking for, a situation where he would get some long-term money, some additional monetary security, et cetera, et cetera. So what do the Oakland Raiders do? They step up, they give up a third and a fifth for him, and then they give him $30 million in guaranteed dollars. And throughout the preseason and training camp, we get this kind of nonsense from Antonio Brown. Do I think that Antonio Brown is going to be there? You're damn right he's going to be there. Why? Because he didn't do all of this to get the money, just to walk away from the money because of a helmet issue. And Drew Rosenhaus can say what the hell he wants to say. It's an important issue with us or whatever. But he definitely made sure to point out that he believes they will find a solution. Listen to Drew Rosenhaus, the agent for Antonio Brown, address that subject. Listen in.
I'm confident we're going to find a solution out, whether it's a different helmet, whether it's the same helmet, we're going to find a solution here. There's really no if. Ultimately, it's going to be Antonio's decision, but I know that he wants to play football. He wants to be a part of the Raiders. We're just trying to work it out so that he's got the right equipment and he can feel safe.
He can feel safe. Ain't nothing wrong feeling safe. Ain't nothing wrong with prioritizing feeling safe. But Drew Rosenhaus, because nobody appears to have asked him this question, why is it that every time Antonio Brown has a problem, he takes the day off from practice and being with the team? It's not like he's there practicing with the team religiously, all right, running routes without his helmet, making sure he doesn't engage in any kind of contact drills or whatever the case may be. You could do something to continue to build chemistry with Derek Carr, who's approaching the last year of his deal before the Oakland Raiders have to make a decision. You could still be there. You could still be around a team. You don't have to, figuratively speaking, take your ball and go home. You don't have to do that, but that's what the hell Antonio Brown has been doing, which is why it's disgusting. And I'm going to tell you why it's disgusting. It's not just because it's selfish. It's not just because it's petty. But it's also ill-timed. You see, ladies and gentlemen, when we talking about a collective bargaining negotiation that's coming up, you don't think the owner's going to sit up there and say, see why? See our hesitation? You don't see why people sit up there and look at cats like him and go like this. That's why I don't hang with y'all. That's why I don't hang with y'all. You don't think that people think like that and say stuff like that? Because you can't condone this kind of childish nonsense. You sign a contract, you got a job to do, go out there and do it. You don't want to go out there without the safety helmet, okay, then they got weeks to try and figure this out until the season opens September 1st. Antonio Brown, we do not need to see him play during the preseason. We really don't. But you should be practicing with Derek Carr every day. You should be at every single practice. You should be in people's ears. You should be providing leadership. You should be what you want it to be, which is the face of this franchise. And by the way, arguably as high as you can pay $30 million. I mean, come on. Come on. You know better. Which means that the only reason you're doing it is because you think you could get away with it. And then to add silliness, insubordination, disrespect, and all of that stuff into the equation, you go on Twitter and call the NFL and say that the NFL stands for the N-word for life. The N-word for life. Now, the NFL is in no position to come at you and say, excuse me, we don't know any N-words is getting paid $30 million. By the way, you signed a contract for tens of millions of dollars in years past. The Steelers paid you buku dollars over the years. What the hell are you talking about? And for some people to think this is an Oakland Raider problem, no, this is an NFL issue because guess what? You going to play for the league and in the same breath talk about them like that? And you think that's cool? That's a problem. That's a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, I got no issues with a man speaking up for himself and speaking out about righteous causes. And obviously, being a black man, I'm going to be sensitive to the plight of black folks anywhere and everywhere. Every time it's warranted. But when it's not warranted, you got to call it out. Because if you don't call it out, what happens when you have something legitimate to call out? No one's going to hear you. You're going to be talking into the wind. Because nobody's going to take you seriously because you're always barking about something that lacks substance. So when something substantive comes to the forefront, instead of hearing the substantive message, they're focused on the messenger. Antonio Brown is compromising everybody. He's compromising the Oakland Raiders. He's proven that he played a role in compromising the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's compromising potential free agents on the come up. He's compromising his very own Players Association, who's about to engage or to continue to engage in collective bargaining talks. And ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, his actions are compromising Colin Kaepernick, along with Eric Reid, along with Kenny Stills, and others, by acting this way. If you don't believe me, stick around. I'll explain it to you. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less, only at Walmart. By the way, that Straight Talk will continue. As soon as we come back from commercial break, I'll be on ESPN2 for the next half hour. So make sure you click over there. I got a lot more to say. Eric Reid was barking and chirping at me. And you saw what I just said about Antonio Brown. I got a response to all of that. Don't touch that dial. Stephen A. back in the house in a minute. Here's the Select Quote term life insurance difference. Most companies give you one option, one policy, one rate. But Select Quote shops and gets you up to 10 options from highly rated life insurers. For a free personalized quote, call 1-800-601-6992 or go to selectquote.com.
We're pretty different.
We're all unique in our own ways.
Somos muy diferentes.
Lamar Jackson may be the most talented, most exciting player from a unique package standpoint that we've seen since Michael Vick. Did you see what he did last night? Now, granted, the play did not count because it got called back on a flag, but everyone saw what happened. And it was very reminiscent of the play when he was in college at Louisville against Syracuse that eventually catapulted his Heisman campaign and led him to taking home the hardware. He jumped over a dude. First, he juked a dude, then he jumped over a dude and scored a touchdown. Again, it got called back, but nonetheless, the athleticism that he displays on a regular basis is ridiculous. And again, I believe he's the most exciting player we've had in this league since Michael Vick. Here's a problem, though. Y'all won't let Lamar Jackson live. When the conversation about Lamar Jackson is had, so many people want to talk about, well, he's not a good thrower. He runs too much, blah, 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 blah. Just let the man live. He took this team to the playoffs last year. He came in subbing out a guy who won a Super Bowl at the quarterback position with this very team in Joe Flacco that was struggling at the time. Lamar Jackson comes in, and what do? They go to the playoffs, right? But everyone looks at Lamar Jackson like he can't do this, he can't. Why are we focusing so much on what the man can't do or hasn't shown yet at this level? He just started last season. Let the man live and just enjoy what he's bringing to you. I mean, if you're a Ravens fan and he took you to the playoffs last year, you have to feel some level of confidence that that's going to happen again, right? The question you may have from a concern standpoint, and I get this part, he runs too much, so he's going to get hurt. Okay, fair question to ask for Coach Harbaugh, are you running him too much? Now, he set a record last year for most rushes by NFL quarterback, right? And all the talk in Baltimore, like, we're going to chill on that a little bit. It's not going to be as much this year. But when he does run, look how exciting it is. It's production that the offense needs. So why are you tripping? Let the man live. If this is how he plays, this is how he plays. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt.
Raiders receiver Antonio Brown missed practice today.
He's upset about the helmet issue, but we've pretty much exhausted all avenues of relief. So from our perspective, it's time for him to be all in or all out. We got 89 guys busting their tail. We are really excited about where this franchise is going, and we hope AB is going to be a big part of it starting week 1 against Denver.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have antacid stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag or your desk or your car or your nightstand. You have those chalky tablets ready for whenever and wherever heartburn strikes. Well, listen up. There's an easier way to deal with your heartburn. That's Prilosec OTC. Just one pill a day will last a full 24 hours with zero heartburn. So kick your antacid habit. It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, usually ESPN News. For the next half hour, we are. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to call it like it is. We're going to be real on this show. You know how I roll. And nothing's changed. We can't, whether you're black, Latino, or any kind of minority in this nation, a nation where 66% of the population is white, we cannot repeatedly acknowledge and recognize that we are constantly toiling an uphill climb and then forget that when it comes to knowing how to act. Antonio Brown was just given $30 million. If you're given $30 million, as I've repeatedly stated, part of the reason is because you're great. The other part of the reason is that you have led folks to believe you're trustworthy. We can trust that you're going to go about the business of performing the task that you're paid to perform with the level of diligence and commitment to excellence that garnered you that money. So when you're walking around talking about you ain't going to play, you ain't going to show up, you know what they doing? They going like this. You see why I don't hang with y'all? That's what they do. You see why we can't mess with y'all? And it has a collateral effect. It's going to affect you when they're negotiating a collective bargaining agreement. It is going to affect you when you talk about dudes coming down the pike that are prospective free agents. It's going to affect you. And if you don't believe it, just look down the list. You thought it was time. You thought T.O.'s career was over before it was over. You thought Des Bryant's career was over before it was over, or at least derailed. Your behavior is going to be monitored. Period. Now, let me get to a bigger issue. Because Eric Reid, the safety for the Carolina Panthers, most notably known for being a friend of Colin Kaepernick, taking a knee with him in support of Colin Kaepernick, who took a knee during the national anthem, not to dishonor our American soldiers, not to be unpatriotic. He took a knee to bring attention to racial oppression, racial inequality, and brutality on the part of police officers against unarmed black men, black people. Eric Reid supported him in that. That happened back in 2016. Colin Kaepernick hasn't had a job in the NFL since opting out of his contract with the San Francisco 49ers. And in the meantime, Eric Reid has taken issue with various things that have occurred. Malcolm Jenkins of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Players Coalition negotiated a deal with the NFL owners, got themselves $89 million to dedicate to disenfranchised communities throughout this country and black issues. Recidivism, incarceration, voter registration, voting rights, etc. Eric Reid had a problem with that. Not only did he have a problem with that, where does he take up his argument? He confronts Malcolm Jenkins on the football field, Lincoln Financial Field, in Philadelphia, before a game against the Carolina Panthers on a Sunday afternoon. Last time we used to joke about that with Chris Rock getting on Janet Jackson for pulling her stuff out on a Sunday afternoon. Now it's this dude. So that happened. And then now Jay-Z garners into a partnership, or basically gets into a partnership with the NFL, and Eric Reid has a problem with that, basically calling him a sellout. I undressed Eric Reid's position on that, and Eric Reid decided he wanted to come at me. So this weekend, a reporter asked him about me, and Eric Reid responded. Listen up.
Stephen A. Smith went on First Take and was saying that the whole point of you guys doing this was to bring light to, racial oppression and whatnot. It wasn't about getting Colin, well, he sacrificed his job, but it wasn't about getting Colin Kaepernick back in the NFL. It was about bringing light to this point, and that's what you guys have done. So he's saying, what is the problem with him going a different route because he's choosing not to go the route necessarily that you and Colin maybe have taken?
The order of events that happened, right? We were professional athletes first. Then we started protesting systemic oppression. Then Colin lost his job because of protesting for justice. Us fighting for Colin to get a job is returning him to a status quo of being an employee. We didn't advocate for him to lose his job along the way. I think it's ludicrous that somebody who, like Stephen A., who's been so closely reporting on this, would make a statement like that. It's asinine.
So he said that my statement was asinine and ludicrous, to quote him directly. First of all, let me say this. I'm not taking the bait that some of you ignorant trolls out there are trying to throw out. I have no issue with what Eric Reid said about me. I didn't even find it disrespectful. Eric Reid is entitled to find my statement ludicrous or asinine or any other word he wants to use. He didn't character assassinate me. He didn't talk about me as a man. He didn't talk about my character. He didn't do anything of the sort. He was responding to a direct question about what I said, and that's how he felt about what I said. Eric Reid is a grown damn man who, by the way, as a black man, I totally appreciate his position. He's out there in his mind fighting for us. And to be honest with you, I owe him a debt of gratitude for that. You willing to bring attention to racial oppression, racial inequality, police brutality? How the hell can I have a problem with that? So I don't have a problem with Eric Reid's position. I don't have a problem with his feelings. A matter of fact, and oh, by the way, I want to state for the record, you can't have a better friend than Eric Reid. For Colin Kaepernick to be in this position that he's in, there has been one man who has been unrelenting in his fight for justice for Colin Kaepernick, and that is Eric Reid. I mean, you talk about loving a brother and going down with the ship. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say anything about Eric Reid in that regard. I applaud the brother. I just disagree with his methods. Confronting Malcolm Jenkins on the field? Really? That's hooliganism. That's what that is. And then you come after Jay-Z. Now, let me tell you something right now. For those of you that don't understand my position, because I had to explain it to a dear friend of mine last night. Let me be very, very clear. You can have a problem with the optics. Jay-Z sitting next to the commissioner, who's the spokesman for all 32 owners, who appear to have ostracized Colin Kaepernick from the league. You sitting there after condemning the NFL for their actions and supporting Colin Kaepernick, sitting there smiling and yucking it up with Roger Goodell is not the greatest look. Oh, by the way, Jay-Z, who's a strategist, a brilliant strategist, and a brilliant capitalist. You, Jay-Z, not having a plan in front of you to articulate and disseminate to the masses in that moment about exactly what your role is going to be and exactly what your intent is with that role, you are too smart not to have a plan to present to Americans and football fans everywhere at that particular moment in time. If that's your argument against Jay-Z, I have nothing to say. The problem is that wasn't your argument. What you did was question this man's blackness, his commitment to blackness, and to black causes, and to black people by attacking him the way that you did. And Jay-Z don't deserve that. He comes from the streets, comes from Marcy Projects, comes from the streets of Brooklyn, raised himself from rags to riches. And oh, by the way, has ingratiated himself with several issues, has been an activist as an artist in his own way. Oh, by the way, who's his wife? It's not just Beyonce, who's phenomenal and magnificent in almost every way you can imagine as a performer. She's also responsible as being associated with Coachella, who brought bands from all the HBCUs to perform. And she was the first black artist to lead Coachella, if I remember, headline Coachella, if I remember correctly. Oh, by the way, he's got friends like Steve Stout, who's a brilliant author and businessman, very closely connected to Commissioner Adam Silver of the National Basketball Association, and very highly respected, along with a plethora of other people. You saw when President Obama had a fundraiser, who was the one helping him raise millions? And oh, by the way, who was throwing events and campaign rallies and stuff like that for him? That would happen to be Jay-Z. So let's not forget all of this. And oh, by the way, having said all of that, Baltimore, Miami, Denver, and Seattle all were looking to give Colin Kaepernick a job after he took a knee and protested in 2016. And even though Eric Reid deserves respect for continuing and not relenting in his position at all and holding firm to his principles and still taking a knee, last time I checked, Eric Reid taking a check from the NFL as well. Oh, let me go a step further. In 2017, December 17th, 2017 to be exact, P. Diddy tweeted, quote, "I would like to buy the Carolina Panthers. Spread the word. Retweet." Do you know who responded to that tweet, ladies and gentlemen, at that time? Colin Kaepernick. I have it right here in front of me. Do you know what the tweet said? "I want in on the ownership group. Make it happen." So Colin Kaepernick can want ownership. And everything's fine. From the very, very people he filed a grievance against, got at least a $10 million settlement against, has been speaking adamantly against, but Jay-Z partnering with them. Oh my God, what a sellout. Really? Really? I didn't hear Eric Reid bring that up. I didn't hear that. And last but not least, I have something in front of me from a noted historian who's a phenomenal man and obviously a civil rights activist for many years, who's been a guest on this show on several occasions. I revered this man. His name is Dr. Harry Edwards. You know him. What did Dr. Harry Edwards tweet? Think about it. How did we get from struggle against injustice / supporting Cap to attacking Jay-Z? You're being had, took, maneuvered, rope-a-doped, played, clowned, swift-boated, gaslighted, bamboozled, chummed, chumped, jibed, misled, and distracted. Back to the struggle. He goes on. Put another way, you can have a Jay-Z in that position or say a Hank Williams Jr. Don't just shut the door on Jay-Z when option could be a continuation of no door at all. Jay-Z is neither a fool nor a sycophant. Let's reach out. wait and watch. Where'd y'all hear that from? Where did y'all hear that from? Who told y'all that? Just 4 days ago, and 3 days ago, and 2 days ago, and right now. You got a problem with me, Eric Reid? What you gonna say next? You got a problem with Dr. Harry Edwards too? You think your struggles of taking a knee are comparable to what that man has done for disenfranchised community throughout this nation since the 60s? I'll do you a favor by assuming you know better. Back with more of the Stephen A. Smith Show in a minute. The satisfying crunch of Nature Valley Crunchy Bars can keep your family going, which means more outside fun for you. And
Sam Darnold for the Jets. Look, when he came out of high school, he was supposed to be legit, okay? And in the short spell that he was at USC, he showed everyone in the NFL everything they needed to see to say that this guy will be good at this level, okay? And what he's shown you so far in the preseason, if you're a Jets fan, you have to be as hyped as you have been in quite some time about that position. He has the build. He has the arm. He has the eyes. He has the awareness. He has the understanding of the offense. He has everything that you would want right now in an NFL quarterback. If he could be a little more nimble in terms of running and getting out of the way, sure, but he's not a bad athlete by any means, right? You don't expect him to be Lamar Jackson out there. You don't want him to be Dan Marino, and he's not close to Dan Marino in terms of inability to move around. He can move around. He can avoid hits. He can find spots in the pocket to step up and make passes. He has that. But if you're the Jets fan base and you see this quarterback and what you have, are you looking at the rest of your team as like, yeah, this is it. This is what we got. We're good to go. Is that what you're looking for? Or are you saying like, man, if we only had blank, we could be so much better? Because you have the quarterback right now. And if you're a Jets fan, I can't remember the last time you could be this excited about your quarterback. Maybe when Mark Sanchez first came in, you had a little bit of success. You were like, oh, okay, this is going to work. Sure, yeah. But now, with Sam Darnold, in terms of what he did, I mean, just look at the first series, right? Boom, 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 you're good. Like, whoa, that just happened because Sam Darnold is that good. But if you're looking at the entire season, do you feel as if you have everything on that roster that can put the Jets in a position to go to the playoffs? I mean, for the second straight week, Sam Darnold opens the game with a touchdown drive. Right out the bump, boom, we're gone. You got to be hyped if you're a Jets fan. But do you also have this doubt in your mind that you have everything you need in order to get to the playoffs again?
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
If you missed any of my opening segment, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Quicksilver Card, earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere. Hey, what's in your wallet? Hour number 2 up next, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, back to ESPN News. Don't touch that dial. I got a lot more to bring. Don't touch that dial. Trust me.
The Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
The Stephen A. Smith Show here with you for the next hour over the national airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show. 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing. Plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80. ESPN News Television as well as Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by mycomputercareer.edu. Training for a better life. Plus, the biggest concerts and games to the hottest theater, shows, and more. Vivid Seats has it all. Download the app and join the Vivid Seats Rewards loyalty program today. Before I get to the phones for the first time today, let me tell you about Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones was speaking about Ezekiel Elliott following a performance in preseason by Tony Pollard, who ran for over 40 yards or something like about 4 or 5 carries, something like that. And Jerry Jones just felt the need to rave and jokingly took a shot at Ezekiel Elliott. Listen to what he had to say.
Zeke who?
He's got you on camera.
We're having some fun. Not at your expense.
Jerry Jones obviously was joking, but according to our very own Chris Mortensen, Ezekiel Elliott was not amused by Saturday's Zeke who comment. Thought it was disrespectful, according to his agent. He said, I didn't think it was funny, and neither did Zeke. We actually thought it was disrespectful. Rocky Arsenault told ESPN's Chris Mortensen on Monday afternoon. To Rocky and Ezekiel Elliott, stop. Just stop. Really, just stop. He's Jerry Jones. He can joke around. He can make a joke like that. He's the one that's been paying you. He wasn't joking when he had to pay you despite the fact that you missed 6 games. I'll tell you that much. He wasn't joking when your absence cost him a playoff berth. Wasn't joking then. It was not a joke when the commissioner had to call you up to the league office because you found yourself in another situation, although no charges were filed against you. It wasn't a joke then. You see, when you have a questionable history involving your behavior, be happy somebody's actually laughing and joking about you instead of being ultra serious because they're disgusted by you. Stop. Rocky Arsenault, from what I'm being told, has a very, very good reputation as an agent. I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on him whatsoever. Ezekiel Elliott, you're a stud. 2-time league leading rusher in the 3 seasons that you've been in the National Football League. Bell cow, 322 carries your rookie year. 304 carries last year. Walk around rushing for 1,200 yards. We know what you bring to the table. Ran for over 1,400 yards last year. We know what a stud you are. And based on your level of production, let me be the first to say, you should be one of the top paid running backs in all of football if it was just about your ability. No question about it. But you ain't been a model citizen. Matter of fact, you've acted like a knucklehead. And the owner joking around, just joking around because you know that's how Jerry can be. Stop. Stop. Don't try to make this into a serious issue. Gee, we didn't find it funny at all, and neither did Ezekiel Elliott. Well, you know what? You're not funny. You're not funny when you're not in camp. You're not funny when you're not there running the football. You're not funny when you get suspended for games. You're not funny when you're a headline on the back pages, and it's never for a football reason. You're not funny then. When you show you know how to act, continuously and repeatedly, as a professional, then maybe you get to be sensitive to stuff like that. Other than that, get over it. Because here's the reality of the situation. Jerry Jones can say what the hell he wants to say. Why? Because he has the money you seek. And number 2, he has your rights. Because you're locked in for the next 2 years before you can be franchised the 3rd year. Let's remember that. Stop sticking out your chest and walking around like you the one in control. You're not. Zeke will get his money because he deserves his money. Because people like me won't hesitate to tell him he deserves his money. And he should get his money from Jerry Jones. But it's Jerry Jones's to give. It ain't for yours to take. Because you don't have that kind of position. And those are the facts. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's go to Mel. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Mel. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, Stephen A? I just wanted to say that African American, I'm one of the people that supported Colin Kaepernick in his protest, his boycott against the NFL. You know, I stood with him. I mean, not standing with him, but, you know, I didn't watch any games in, like 3 years. The minute Colin Kaepernick got the settlement, for me personally, my boycott was over. Because I feel like he settled and he was kind of silent when he had his foot on the NFL's neck. He chose to go that way. I'm not mad at him. You know, that's the route he chose. But he didn't say anything. He kept quiet about everything. He just took the check, him and Eric Reid, and that was the end of it. So I think people are confusing the kneeling that he did in the beginning to bring awareness versus the grievance against the NFL for being punished for what he did, all right? So we already have the awareness when Jay-Z – everybody's aware what it is now. Nobody's confusing with the flag or kneeling or disrespecting the flag or anything. We all know what it is now. So me personally, if Jay-Z just said, you know what, I signed an entertainment deal with the NFL, why would I have a problem with that? People don't have problems with African-American quarterbacks doing the job, getting paid, running backs, coaches, and so on. So why would I have a problem with Jay-Z?
How about, Mel? Hey, Mel.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Mel. I got something else to throw at you. You ready?
Yes.
How about not having a problem with it? Because one could argue Colin Kaepernick took his settlement money to sit down and shut up. We ain't heard a word from him.
And that's my
ever
point.
Since that, ever since that settlement took place, right? Isn't it true that the only thing we've seen from Colin Kaepernick is a tweet showing that he's still working out and ready to go?
Yep. Yep.
That's the only thing. The only thing. That's all we've heard.
And it's not to the point right now is that people got to understand it's not about him, getting a job. It's not even about the NFL, forcing the NFL, right, to do something about social injustice, because the NFL aren't the ones out there killing innocent African Americans in the streets. Now, if they want to do something to help out or bring awareness and do different programs, fine with it. But we got to stop acting like Jay-Z has to do some social injustice. Even if he just did an entertainment deal and did all the performances and stuff like that, fine, let it go. But the whole social injustice thing is just something that, is good that the NFL is open to right now. And I want to
I said, I got you, and you're right, and I appreciate the call. Thank you. Because the reality is that the NFL, and this is the other part that we don't have to worry about, the NFL doesn't have to do anything. No one brings that up. The NFL does not have to do anything because the NFL is not who Kenny Stills, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reid were protesting against. Colin Kaepernick did tweet yesterday. He said, my brothers, Eric Reid, Kenny Stills, and I forgot who this is. I think I see 12, whoever that is. I think that's Albert Wilson as well, receiver for the Miami Dolphins. Colin Kaepernick says, continue to fight for the people, even in the face of death threats. They have never moved past the people and continue to put their beliefs into action. Stay strong, brothers. Okay. So they're taking a knee and people are hating on them and, they're strong. And one of the things that, and I don't disagree with it. I just think that one of the things that rubbed me the wrong way is that there's a lot of people out here doing different things for the same causes and putting up the good fight. Some of them get death threats too. Some of them don't. But there's a whole bunch of people out here fighting. And Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid and the crew just give you this impression. Unless you march directly in lockstep with their belief and their methodology, you ain't worth a damn. That's just the impression they give. And that kind of rubs me the wrong way. We got battles in corporate America every day. Y'all don't know about that. Jay-Z's got his battles. Dr. Harry Edwards has had numerous types of battles and continue to have battles. Ladies and gentlemen, you got people in the Players Association battling. You got people in the NFL league office battling. You got folks in the media battling all the time. But if you don't march directly in lockstep with them, you the problem. You're an enabler. You're a contributor because you don't do things the way they do them. And what have they done? You've taken a knee. You've brought attention. Well, guess what? These are the things that have happened. So now what? Which brings me back to Eric Reid. Are you protesting about racial oppression, racial inequality? Or are you protesting about Colin Kaepernick? And if you're protesting about Colin Kaepernick, say so we can ask the question as to why that is. Did not Colin Kaepernick have an opportunity in Baltimore, Denver, Seattle, and Miami to get jobs since he protested? Yes or no? Why didn't he get those protests? You might sit up there and say, well, you know what? Because he wasn't willing to abandon his principles and refuse to take a knee. That's true. And Eric Reid is still taking a knee, and he's got an NFL job. But it's a double-edged sword because you called out Jay-Z, but you're still taking a check from the NFL. The Carolina Panthers are under the umbrella of the National Football League. So why is it free and okay for you to get a check, but for Jay-Z not to? Or for Jay-Z to do so, it's selling out. And if we want to get away from that issue, and instead what we want to do is we want to focus on Colin Kaepernick. Well, Colin Kaepernick was paid when he played. I don't recall him getting fired by the San Francisco 49ers. He opted out. And his inability to get a job, we can sit up there and say he shouldn't have to forfeit giving up a knee in protest. It's not a part of NFL bylaws. He is certainly not against the law constitutionally. He should be allowed to take a knee without any repercussions. But an owner can sit up there and say, damn that, it's my team. This fan base is my constituency. They're who patronize my product. And if they give me the opportunity, if they give me the impression that it's going to cost me dollars, why should I let you, who was 3-16 in your last 19 starts, 1-10 in your last 11 starts, to cost me more dollars? Owner has a right to ask that question. I'll tell you where it can really get deep. An owner can have the right to ask the question, excuse me, did you get paid? Because, by the way, we don't think you're a starter. You're a backup, but you got $10 million from us in the settlement. They got a right to ask that question. What would be your answer? Which brings me to my big problem. Ladies and gentlemen, I never thought I'd say this, but damn it, I'm going to say this. And I'll preface my comment by saying that, you know what? Colin Kaepernick may very well be silent because it might be a part of the settlement. But all I know is this. Most of the stuff we hear from is via tweets. We ain't see Colin Kaepernick do any interviews. We ain't see him talk to anybody. Why not? Why is that relevant? Because if it's a part of the settlement agreement, that means you allowed them to silence you. But number one, you swore you wouldn't be silenced. And number two, you keep encouraging dudes who ain't silent. So where is it? Where's it going? I'm just wondering. Jay, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., I hope you hear me out, brother. But I hope the NFL announced that this is actually an entertainment deal or a deal to fight social oppression and social equality. Because in my view, to be honest with you, I agree with Eric Reid. I believe that, like you alluded to, Jay-Z is worth over $900 million. Him and Beyonce as a couple are worth an assets of $1.2 billion. And I feel like he didn't do it for the money. Cardi B, Rihanna.
Stop right there. Stop. Hold on a second. Hold it. You said Jay-Z is worth over $900 million?
$900 million, yes, sir.
And you said that the combination of him and Beyonce is worth around $1.2 billion?
That's up over 1.2
because that's only because that's only attaching $300 million to Beyonce. And I'm like, where's your math? Beyonce worth a hell of a lot more than that.
Well, when I checked
go ahead.
earlier, okay, and I agree with, like I said, what Eric Reid said. They're attaching a black face to it because Rihanna, Jay-Z, and even Cardi B refused to perform at the halftime performances. Now he's in charge of it. So all they're doing is using him to get the orders to come out. Travis Scott faced a lot of criticism.
But time out. Here's my problem with what you're saying. How do you know? As Dr. Harry Edwards just echoed from me from a few days ago, he hasn't done anything yet. Why don't we wait and see? You don't know what Jay-Z's gonna do. Why not wait and see? Why not simply sit here and demand that we see? I have no problem if black people stand up and go like this. Yo, man, this is what we need to see if you're going to do this partnership with the NFL. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're condemning him before we've seen anything. Why are we doing that, Jay?
Let me counter that with something. Again, he worth over $900 million. He don't need the NFL to fight social oppression or social injustice. He grew up in poverty. He know what it feels to grow up in the inner city. Do it yourself. You don't need no NFL
Stop,
to
wait a minute. The National Football League is the #1 sports league in America. You always need help. You always need help, no matter what, no matter how righteous your cause. No matter how much cachet you have, no matter how much money you have, the bottom line is you always need help. Why do you think you constantly see billionaires imploring others to get involved? Because they can't do it by themselves, bro. That's been our issue throughout history. You can't do it by yourself. Oprah was a billionaire and still asking for assistance. Barack Obama was the president but still asked for your vote. And don't get me started with how the black community didn't show up and go to the polls and vote during this last election. 2 million less people showed up to the polls to vote for Hillary Clinton than showed up to vote for Barack Obama. But you want to complain about our system when you had an opportunity to impact it and you didn't take advantage of it. Now, which one is it?
What I'm saying.
You can't have it all, bro.
Get my point.
Can't do it by yourself. You can't do it by yourself.
Let me ask you something. Who is the more influential individual in hip hop today?
Him.
Exactly.
Him. Jay-Z. Hold on, wait a minute.
Exactly my point.
But it's not. But hold on, time on. It wasn't like he wasn't doing anything before. He spoke out on behalf of Colin Kaepernick. He contributed to disseminating the message that Colin Kaepernick was being victimized. He wasn't silent in that equation. So what I'm saying to you is that there's still more to do. What's wrong with being in a position to potentially influence the National Football League? What's wrong with that?
Back to my point, Steve. He brings me back to my point. Even he rejected the halftime performance in support of Cap. So now you're going to be in charge of the same thing that you refused to do? How?
It's not that. It's so not that because that's. Stop. Because that's ignorant. That's flat out ignorant. He is not doing the same thing. Him being a halftime performer is entirely different than him being in charge of halftime while at the same time working in concert with the National Football League to address social injustices. That is not the same as showing up on one Sunday afternoon in February to perform for 15 minutes. You don't see the difference?
You're right. No, you're right. But he got charged to hire artists.
I'm right.
Gonna do it.
I'm right. Stop there. You ain't making no damn sense. Goodbye. 15 minutes. Or having a seat in the room to influence. Now, Jay-Z has to be held accountable to show up and produce. I get that part. But don't tell me that that's the same as performing for 15 minutes at halftime one Sunday. That's just ignorant. Gabrielle, you're live with Stephen A.
Yo, Stephen A.
Gabrielle or Gabriel? Gabriel? Is that right?
Gabriel.
Yeah, my apologies. Gabriel.
My bad. Hey, from Alabama, man, gotta say roll tide. But I got to say this when it comes down to it. It's hypocritical. You know, you look at it just like you brought out. You got Eric Reid holding down the job. He's not sitting back protesting saying, well, I'm not going to work in the NFL because of the fact that Kaepernick got a job. So if he's not willing to do that, why you expect Jay-Z to do the same thing? And then when I look at it, Stephen A., and you speak about it all the time, it's really a culture thing. All the people who are going against Jay-Z, they sitting up, they in his pocket. This is a man trying to affect change, trying to make some money at the same time. Let him do what he got to do. He stood up. He's done his part. He's going to do even more. But we got people who just call. We got people who listen on television, things like that. And the whole thing is, oh, Jay-Z wrong, Jay-Z wrong. Jay-Z not wrong. If nothing else, we as the people, we wrong for trying to judge him like that. And really come down to it, Stephen A., that's about the jealousy going on.
Gabriel, I appreciate the call, man, because here's the thing. Those folks might be right. I doubt it. Not the Jay-Z I know. I think that Jay-Z's going to do what he intended to do because I think he's real, and I don't think that he's going to compromise our community the way some people think he is. But I have no problem with people demanding that he doesn't. My issue with people is that they're judging before he's done anything. Give the man a chance and see what he does. That's all I'm saying. Give him a chance to see what he does, as opposed to being presumptive in your beliefs that he ain't going to do a damn thing that he has sold to soul. Jay-Z does not deserve to be accused of selling out without any evidence that is what has happened. We don't know yet. We will find out soon enough. 888-ESPN, it's 888-729-3776. We'll continue talking about this. Plus, I want to say this about Josh Gordon and the New England Patriots. I need an explanation as to why Bill Belichick has Josh Gordon on his team. Josh Gordon is an addict. I don't say that disrespectfully. I don't say that flippantly. He's an addict. He's been suspended on multiple occasions for violating the league's drug policy. We know this. He's had numerous chances. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve another chance. I'm saying I'm shocked that Bill Belichick keeps providing them. It is quite surprising. This is going to be his third go-round with the team, at least if I remember correctly. We'll talk about that and then some after the break. You're listening live, Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dream. Choose from over 30 coverage options at progressivecommercial.com.
Lamar Jackson may be the most talented, most exciting player from a unique package standpoint that we've seen since Michael Vick. Did you see what he did last night? Now, granted, the play did not count because it got called back on a flag, but everyone saw what happened. And it was very reminiscent of the play when he was in college at Louisville against Syracuse that eventually catapulted his Heisman campaign and led him to taking home the hardware. He jumped over a dude. First, he juked a dude, then he jumped over a dude and scored a touchdown. Again, it got called back, but nonetheless, the athleticism that he displays on a regular basis is ridiculous. And again, I believe he's the most exciting player we've had in this league since Michael Vick. Here's a problem, though. Y'all won't let Lamar Jackson live. When the conversation about Lamar Jackson is had, so many people want to talk about, well, he's not a good thrower. He runs too much, blah, 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 blah. Just let the man live. He took this team to the playoffs last year. He came in subbing out a guy who won a Super Bowl at the quarterback position with this very team and Joe Flacco that was struggling at the time. Lamar Jackson comes in, and what do? They go to the playoffs, right? But everyone looks at Lamar Jackson like he can't do this, he can't. Why are we focusing so much on what the man can't do or hasn't shown yet at this level? He just started last season. Let the man live and just enjoy what he's bringing to you. I mean, if you're a Ravens fan and he took you to the playoffs last year, you have to feel some level of confidence that that's going to happen again, right? The question you may have from a concern standpoint, and I get this part, he runs too much, so he's going to get hurt. Okay, fair question to have for Coach Harbaugh. Are you running him too much? Now, he set a record last year for most rushes by NFL quarterback, right? And all the talk in Baltimore, like, we're going to chill on that a little bit. It's not going to be as much this year. But when he does run, Look how exciting it is. It's production that the offense needs. So why are you tripping? Let the man live. If this is how he plays, this is how he plays. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt.
Coming and saying, hey, we're going to partner with Rock Nation because it's going to help us with these causes. How? Why?
They're putting this here as a shield. When something else comes up, they'll be able to point to this initiative as, see, we do care.
The point Jay-Z is making is that Cap getting a job is not about what the movement is about. The movement is about bringing attention to these problems, and now that the attention is brought to the problems, Jay is like, what are we going to do next?
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Making it easy to bundle your home and your car insurance. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. This 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Carlton, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, what? How you doing, man?
I'm all right. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, buddy. Floor's yours.
I don't think you're going to like me much today, Stephen A. Why does the African-American community continue to elevate fools who play the victimization race card at every turn? Every time they don't get their way, out comes the race card, the victim card. And I'm speaking of Antonio Brown, Colin Kaepernick, and Eric Reid. Let's delineate the African Americans these guys have thrown under the bus. Antonio Brown threw Mike Tomlin under the bus. Juju Smith-Schuster under the bus. Ryan Clark under the bus. His Raiders teammates, most of whom are black, under the bus. And now the whole NFL, many of whose executives are African Americans. They're all a bunch of, slave owners now, according to Antonio Brown's tweets. Kaepernick threw Hall of Famer Ray Lewis under the bus when Ray Lewis was trying to help him get a job with the Baltimore Ravens. He threw Malcolm Jenkins under the bus. He threw all Cuban Americans under the bus with his captor T-shirt. He threw all of law enforcement under the bus with his pig socks, many of whom are African Americans. Eric Reid's thrown Malcolm Jenkins under the bus, Jay-Z under the bus, and now you under the bus. Although you don't object to him believing your take is foolish, because he didn't actually assail you personally. Okay, these guys are self-absorbed fools who, when they don't get their way, they trot out the race card and the victimization card, and they want you to ignore everything else as to why they are where they are.
Carlton, my response to that is that you are wrong. And you know what you're wrong about?
Tell me.
Do you know what you're wrong about?
Tell me.
Assuming that I have a problem, or I would disagree with a word you just said. I do not.
Yeah.
I think you're right on the money.
So sad.
The fact that listen. I would say to you, there are an abundance of black people are not just one monolithic group. We come in various shades, colors, sizes, etc., and we all don't believe the same thing. But your points about Antonio Brown and Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid and what they've said or done directly to or against other black folks, your point is absolutely 1,000% valid. I offer zero resistance to the examples that you used.
Why don't I hear more African-American callers, Stephen A., calling in and supporting Hall of Famer Ray Lewis, Ryan Clark, I can go down, Malcolm Jenkins. Why don't I hear that? Why do they always call in and advocate for these self-absorbed fools?
because they're not advocating for the fools. They're advocating for the issues. And sometimes the individuals that you just called fools, they're the ones that are the messengers about a bigger message. It's almost similar to the whole OJ thing. Most black people knew he was guilty as hell and needed to be under the jail for the rest of his life. But the problem was the issues with blacks and the LAPD was such a significant, poignant thing that resonated to communities throughout our nation that was bigger than O.J. Simpson. So if the O.J. Simpson trial was the conduit to bring attention to things that we cared significantly more about, then that was what mattered. It wasn't about him, which is something that Al Sharpton and others had said at that particular time, particularly when Johnny Cochran passed away and O.J. Simpson showed up at his funeral. Al Sharpton said, this wasn't about you. This was about a bigger issue. You were just the vehicle that was used to highlight the issues that we have to fight every day. Carlton, I got to go in a minute, but do me a favor. Tell me your point about Josh Gordon real quick.
One quick thing, though. Every time Molly references Colin Kaepernick, she says he's blackballed from the NFL. He's not. He acts like a fool, which is why he's not with the Ravens or the Dolphins or the Broncos or whomever. I'm sick and tired of her saying every single time that he's blackballed. He's not. He's an idiot. So as far as Josh Gordon, I just wanted to tell you, Bill Belichick doesn't have a heart. The reason why Josh Gordon is on the New England Patriots roster is because he's dirt cheap. This year they had to tender him just $2 million, and he had actually the second highest yards per catch in the NFL last year behind Deshaun Jackson, who, of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick was throwing him all those bombs last year. But that's why Josh Gordon is on the Patriots.
I knew you really get it. I knew you.
Have a heart, period, Stephen. He smeared Malcolm Butler on the way out. He smeared Jamie Collins.
Listen, oh, my goodness. I threw that softball up there for you, Carlton, because I knew that was your way to take a shot at Bill Belichick while it remind us that Ryan Fitzpatrick can still throw footballs at quarterback in the NFL. You think you're slick, but that's the way to go. Carlton, I got to run, but call me back tomorrow, buddy. Thank you so much. My man, Champ, it's been a while, baby. What's going on, big time? How you doing?
It's been a minute. How you doing?
I'm good. Go ahead, man. The airways are yours. Go ahead.
I just want to comment on this whole Jay-Z, Colin Kaepernick thing. I mean, I brought it to your attention. Yep. You read my entire text about the patriotism with Colin Kaepernick with the NFL a few years back.
Yep.
Shout out to that. Appreciate that. But I want to say this. Colin Kaepernick, when he made a decision to take a knee, Colin Kaepernick had no value. And let me tell you what I mean by no value. A lot of us, the no voices who make comments, and even if they're right or wrong, if they're not in a position of power, it does not resonate. So when Colin Kaepernick was playing in an NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl versus the Ravens in 2013, he had value. He was considered on the up and coming. Some people thought he would be the greatest quarterback of all time. I think Ron Jaworski had said that. Mm-hmm. And my point is that had it occurred during the time when he was up, it wouldn't have felt disingenuous. And I'm not saying that I felt that way or, some folks that I know, but when you take a position from a weak position, it does not resonate. For example,
meaning waiting until he goes 1-10 as a starter in his last 11 games, opts out of his contract, looking for a long-term deal, can't get that long-term deal, and that's when it happened. You talk about in the midst of all of that. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So when I say this, Jay-Z has value. And a lot of people, and I use this word in my community because I'm a black man, that we become competitively stupid. Jay-Z has value. He has a platform. He's considered one of the best rappers of all time. He changed the culture from wearing jerseys to button-ups. He's married to one of the most popular female artists of all time, maybe the best. He used his platform and his value for Meek Mills and so many other folks, and what he's done with Rock Nation, how he's taken Rockefeller Records and transformed that to Rock Nation. He's had his own clothing line. He's done so many things. He's helped so many people of color. So now he's in a position of power with the NFL where he's dictating and making decisions on behalf of the disenfranchised, on behalf of the non-voices, to empower more black people in positions, including, the 15 minutes of fame of halftime shows. And then they talking about he's going to have an NFL majority position as an owner. That means he's going to be able to hire more black folks and so forth. So what I'm saying is a lot of folks got to understand this, the difference between value and no value. What is your value when you start talking? And now you at the table to have these discussions. Jay-Z is at the table, and he can make decisions that Colin Kaepernick cannot. Now, I believe what Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee for, I'm with him. But guess what? The sellouts were the entire black NFL players who didn't take a knee with him. Those were the sellouts. The sellouts was the NBA players who didn't take a knee with him, not Jay-Z. No one stood tall with Colin Kaepernick when he did it first. Everybody played the wait-and-see game. Now, all Jay-Z has done was he said, hey, they love me. I have a platform. I'm going to take this position of leadership to see if I can make change and empower people. That's the real message that's been sent by Sean Carter.
That's the real message. Appreciate you, champ. Thanks a lot for calling, man. Talk to you soon. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, if you missed any of today's show, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith Podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Quicksilver Card, earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase, everywhere. Hey, what's in your wallet? More of your calls to close out the show in a minute with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Here's the select quote term life insurance difference. Most companies.
Sam Darnold for the Jets. Look, when he came out of high school, he was supposed to be legit, okay? And in the short spell that he was at USC, he showed everyone in the NFL everything they needed to see to say that this guy will be good at this level, okay? And what he's shown you so far in the preseason, if you're a Jets fan, you have to be as hyped as you have been in quite some time about that position. He has the build. He has the arm. He has the eyes. He has the awareness. He has the understanding of the offense. He has everything that you would want right now in an NFL quarterback. If he could be a little more nimble in terms of running and getting out of the way, sure, but he's not a bad athlete by any means, right? You don't expect him to be Lamar Jackson out there. You don't want him to be Dan Marino, and he's not close to Dan Marino in terms of inability to move around. He can move around. He can avoid hits. He can find spots in the pocket to step up and make passes. He has that. But if you're the Jets fan base and you see this quarterback and what you have, are you looking at the rest of your team as like, yeah, this is it. This is what we got. We're good to go. Is that what you're looking for? Or are you saying like, man, if we only had blank, we could be so much better? Because you have the quarterback right now. And if you're a Jets fan, I can't remember the last time you could be this excited about your quarterback. Maybe when Mark Sanchez first came in, you had a little bit of success. You were like, oh, okay, this is going to work. Sure, yeah. But now, with Sam Darnold, in terms of what he did, I mean, just look at the first series, right? Boom, 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 you're good. Like, whoa, that just happened because Sam Darnold is that good. But if you're looking at the entire season, do you feel as if you have everything on that roster that can put the Jets in a position to go to the playoffs? I mean, for the second straight week, Sam Darnold opens the game with a touchdown drive. Right out the bump, boom, we're gone. You got to be hyped if you're a Jets fan. But do you also have this doubt in your mind that you have everything you need in order to get to the playoffs again?
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Now with 4 levels of defense against gunk, wear, corrosion, and friction. Back to the phones we go before we get on out of here for the day. Let's see. Let's go to Laura. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Laura, go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Smith. I enjoy your show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Much respect to you. And I got a quick question, totally off topic of all the Jay-Z talk, but what are your thoughts of Mason Rudolph's performance with the Steelers-Chiefs preseason game, and do you think he's worthy of the new number 2 position over Josh Dobbs?
I like Josh Dobbs' wheels. Mason Rudolph's arm. I like what I've seen from him in preseason. But I must admit, it really doesn't matter to me much, only because we all know that Big Ben Roethlisberger, with the new 3-year deal at age 37, is a franchise quarterback that's not going anywhere barring injury, and this is what it is. So it's hard for me to gauge. It depends on how the other guys are going to look. It would be one thing if Antonio Brown was still there with Juju Smith-Schuster and Jesse James was there with Vance McDonald and stuff like that, but Jesse James is gone, Antonio Brown's gone, Le'Veon Bell's gone. So we have to see how these guys adjust and maturate with Big Ben Roethlisberger and what have you before I can gauge what they would need most, Rudolph or Dobbs, in the event that Big Ben goes down. But I got to go, Laura. Call back tomorrow, and I promise you I'll give you more time. I'm sorry that I have to rush you. Thank you so much for the call. Let's go to Carlos. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Carlos, go.
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A? I'm talking about the Colin Kaepernick.
I'm all right. Go ahead, real quick, buddy.
I'm a diehard fan of Jay-Z, and I don't have a problem with what he's doing. But at the same time, I feel like, Eric Reid and Colin Kaepernick have the right to voice their opinion, too. They had a right to stay how they feel, and I think people should be mad at them about that, what Colin Kaepernick did to me, wasn't nothing foolish about that. He took a stand for what he believed in, and it did cost him. But, I don't see anything. I don't hear people call him foolish or idiot. I don't see none of that.
Can I ask Carlos, stop right there. Carlos, stop. Can I ask you a quick question? And I need a quick answer on this, okay?
Okay.
You listening?
Yes.
How do you feel about the fact Colin Kaepernick obviously felt this way for a long time? We didn't see this happening when he was guiding them to the Super Bowl appearance against the Baltimore Ravens. We saw this when people were presuming he was on the downside of his career. What do you say to those like Champ, who called in earlier, who would make that argument?
I don't really believe that he was. I'm a diehard football fan. Yes.
You don't believe what?
I believe that Colin Kaepernick, wasn't on the downside. I believe he had a bad year with a bad team, but I still think he was a good player. I think Colin Kaepernick is still, if his game like it was, he's still better than 15 of the quarterbacks.
You are aware of the fact that he got beat out by Blaine Gabbert, right? I'm just saying. Appreciate the call, man. I got to go. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Thanks to the viewers that were watching me on ESPN News and then ESPN2 from 30 minutes past hour number 1 until the top of the 2 o'clock hour. Tomorrow I'll be back here, right here in front of on these airwaves, nationwide on Sirius XM Channel 80, ESPN Radio in 250-plus markets, plus ESPN News. I will be back in 22 hours talking about a plethora of subjects, this included in all likelihood. Until then, peace and love.
The United States Postal